Welcome back to another episode of the Let's Talk Experience Show. And on our show today again, Mr. Bright. We brought him back because a lot of, controversial issues that stirred up from the last episode we had regarding God keeping wife for someone and all that.
Yeah.
And so part of what we'll be doing in this episode today is to bring clarity to that subject, all right? Because a lot of dragging, a lot of comments plenty. Anyways, we'll just be picking a few of those comments. But then, Mr. Bright,
Thank you, sir.
do you know where I want to start from?
No, sir.
You made a very striking statement on our last episode,
Okay.
right? Just in case you have not watched that episode, please go and watch it now. It's very, very powerful. A lot to learn from that episode. This is just like a follow-up episode to that one where we want to bring clarity to certain things and then see how God would help us. So, Mr. Bright, you made a very controversial statement in the last episode we had, where you said something like God never gave Adam a wife. All right. And so we saw a lot of people bringing up comments. Some were like, didn't you read Genesis chapter 2 very well? But then what does God mean by he made someone suitable for him and all of that? So I don't know whether you have any more thing to say in order to bring clarity to that statement.
The question that day was, does God have this particular person he kept for you to marry?
Yeah.
That was where we started from.
And you are still of that opinion.
I'm still of that opinion that God does not have one particular person that he reserved for you. Then in the case of Adam, I said that God brought Eve to Adam. Adam chose Eve as a wife. I went through your comment section and I see people talking about, and the Lord said he's going to make someone suitable for Adam.
Yeah.
Now, if you read your Bible very well, that thing happened in verse 18, where God said, it is not good for a man to be alone, for I will make for him someone suitable unto him. That is verse 18. Okay. And immediately in verse 19, God formed all these animals and brought them to Adam and told Adam to name those animals. Okay. And then I want to put it today again, that what actually happened in that verse 19, is actually the searching period.
Okay.
The Bible said that he that finds a wife finds a good thing. That finding that Bible is talking about is what happened in verse 19. God brought those animals, giving Adam the chance and the privilege to search for someone suitable unto him.
Okay.
So that's why if you read the very last line in verse 19, Bible said, and Adam named everything, and whatsoever Adam called them is what they are. But to Adam, he could not find. That's what the Bible said. To Adam, he could not find anyone suitable to him. So what I want to say about that video is that when it comes to the issue of marriage, the issue of marriage is your will.
Your will.
You have the right. Let me use your right or your choice. Okay, I think the choice is the main thing to use there. It's your choice. God doesn't appoint somebody for you and say that this is the person. While I was reading my Bible this morning, I was asking myself, how come is it that we are stressing over this matter and yet we cannot drop one singular sentence in the Bible made by God? Maybe God telling somebody, oh yeah, take Rehoboam, the man I have kept for you. Or take Mary, the wife I have reserved for you. How come that from Genesis to Revelation, we never come across any statement like that? Now, I want us to consider 3 persons in the Bible who talked about marriage. Okay, so...
But in essence, you are trying to say that marriage is not about the will of God, but the will of man.
No, what I'm saying is that marriage and who you marry is your choice, not by God's appointment.
So God cannot choose anybody for anybody.
God cannot choose anybody for anybody.
You are trying to say that God's choice does not matter when it comes to marriage for me.
No, God's choice does not matter when it comes to marriage for you. But how will I put this thing for you to understand it better now? Let me come this way.
Okay.
First of all, you ask yourself, this suitable issue we are talking about, where is the issue of suitability coming from? The issue of suitability was addressed in Genesis chapter 2. And I and you are not supposed to be discussing about who is suitable unto us. The issue of stability appeared when we have differences in kinds, when we have animals, when we are looking for someone who is comparable. If you read King James is Adam did not see anyone that is comparable.
Okay.
So the issue of suitability died the day God removed that ribs from Adam and made a woman, and Adam accepted that person, and Adam chose that person. The issue of stability died that day. Do you know why we are stressing this issue of God keeping someone for us? It's because we don't actually believe who we are as born-again Christians. Any born-again Christian can get married to any born-again Christian.
Even without God's...
I said any born-again Christian. That is God's plan. What is the difference between a woman suitable unto A and the woman suitable unto B? What is the difference? What do you think is the difference?
For me, I don't know, but my own opinion is that maybe when it comes to these purpose matters, I think that is where people are trying to come in. When it comes to life purpose, it's not everybody, in as much as they are born again, it's not every of them that will suit in when it comes to your own purpose actualization.
If not that we are trying to analyze what God already put in place. There is nothing like suitability when it comes to marriage among believers.
So now, everybody can go.
Suitability, let me clear you about suitability. Suitability, we have suitability in the medical aspect of marriage. Talk about blood group, talk about genotype. It was never from God. Difference in blood group and genotype never came from God. God didn't create in Adam what is it called? O plus. Inside the same Adam, A positive. Inside the same Adam, AB. God didn't create inside Adam AA, AS, SS. God created these people compatible already, and they are expected to produce their like. So where is the change in genotype coming from?
So are you trying to say that?
Where is the change in blood group coming from? Where is the change in temperament? You know this one is melancholy, this one is choleric. Where is it coming from? It is coming from our activities as human. It was never coming from God. Adam and Eve are supposed to produce their kind. So if God had created them AA, they are supposed to give birth to AA. So what are we talking about stability inside? The next place we find stability is when it comes to our character, our attitude as persons. And that also is not traceable to God. That is traceable to your upbringing, your society, the environment you grow up in, the information available to you, and your personal decision. Those are things that forms your character and your attitude. It's not God. So when your character could not match with my own, how am I putting it up to God? Now, let me come finally now to talking about purpose. Any believer can marry any believer. Any believer, what do we call a believer? A believer is that person who have given his or her life to Christ and has his or her self-will given to God, number one, and is dead to flesh. If a believer marries a co-believer or a fellow believer, they won't have problem in purpose. Because if I marry you and you are a true believer, you listen to the Spirit of God, and I listen to the Spirit of God. Even before I open my mouth to tell you my purpose, the Spirit of God will bear me witness in your hearts. So where the problem is coming from is not coming from God. You know, we like dragging God into everything we are doing. We like dragging him by fire, by force. God made everything beautiful. God never planned to come and sit down now and start appointing wife for you. After how many thousand years ago? Yeah, and then he will now come down and now start. They will born this boy 2023. Okay, maybe we program one wife for her. Maybe they born the wife 2030. So that by the time when this boy they grow up, that was not lie. Not lie. He rested and he's still resting from that part of his work.
Oh.
He's done with the creation. So he's not coming down to come and tick your date of birth. So the issue of who is suitable unto us, I don't want to rush it. If you read your Bible very well,
Yeah.
God will always tell people two things about marriage. Number one is maybe at a time when you are due to marry. Number two is amongst the people he wants you to get married to.
Okay.
Amongst the people. If you read your Bible very well, he will always advise that we marry within the faith. Believers do what? Marry, because he knows that if I am a believer and you are a believer, there's nothing again we are looking for. I came across a story of a man of God. I don't know if you permit people to call the name of men of God in your podcast, in your platform. A very powerful man of God that believes so much in the leading of God in this Nigeria. And he said something. He said he had an argument with his wife one of the days. And he said, before he argue with you, that means he's very sure about his point of view. And he knows very well that what he was arguing with his wife, he was actually right. So he said he argued with his wife for a very long time. And after that argument, he went to the bathroom to go and freshen up. He said while he was bathing, the Spirit of God told him that when you come out of this bedroom, go to your wife and then go and apologize to her. And he was like, how? But I was right. I was saying the right thing. He said the Spirit of God told him, you argued with anger in your heart. So when you apologize to her, myself will now let her to see the truth in what you are saying. He said he came out of the bedroom, walked past the wife. He could not open his mouth to say, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He went, did what he wanted to do, come back again, past the wife. He could not say, I'm sorry. He went and did what he wanted to do. Then he now came back for the second time. He now say, oh, honey, that thing I said before. I'm sorry. So, why am I telling you this thing now? It's because he is a believer that listens to the Spirit of God.
Yeah.
So, had it been that he's not a believer and he is not allowing God to work on him, that single argument might escalate to the point of them going their separate ways. What am I trying to bring out there? Every genuine believer can get married to every genuine believer. That is the reason why God will always tell us that this is amongst the people he wants us to marry.
So where is the problem coming from now? From God or the people?
The problem is coming from the people.
Now, where is the place of God in all this matter now?
The place of God is that we are expected to believe and to allow God work in us as an individual. When we allow God to work in us, then we can fit in according to his purpose for each and every one of us. Do you know a believing wife? A believing wife is that woman who will get angry, already prepared her quarrel, waiting for the husband. And the Spirit of God will say, don't talk. That man have been through a lot. I know where he's coming from. He didn't go to see another woman. And you will drop that bucket of quarrel you were keeping before. A believing man is that man whose pride and ego of a man is no longer there because he's dead to self. A believing man is that man who will not go out to cheat on his wife to another woman. A believing man is that man whose conscience won't allow him to maltreat his wife. A believing man is that man whose the Spirit of God inside of him will not allow him to downgrade his wife. Will not allow him to disgrace his wife and treat her like a nobody. Which constitutes 80% of the challenges we are facing today in marriage from the angle of the women. Because they feel that they are being treated anyhow. But if men are genuine with God, all those things will not be seen. So the place of God there is we actually serving God. When we serve God through, every other thing will align. Now, I told you I don't argue scriptures. I discuss scriptures with scriptures. So, 3 persons I respect so much that talked about marriage. Number 1 is Jesus Christ. Because why I want to talk about this is looking at where we are coming from. If God have kept one particular person for you.
Okay.
So, addressing that point of if God have kept one particular person for you, I would like us to consider just 3 persons that talked about marriage. Number 1 is Jesus Christ, and he talked about marriage in the book of Matthew chapter 19. Now, every other thing he talked about concerning divorce and the rest of them, I will not be going to that. But there is one verse that I came across that I was like, wow. That is Matthew chapter 19, verse 12.
Okay.
And Jesus said that there are 3 reasons why a man will choose not to marry. Did you hear that?
Matthew what? Come again.
Matthew chapter 19,
Okay.
verse 12.
Okay.
I think we should be reading from different translation. Maybe if you have Good News, I think Good News put it very well.
Matthew 19,
Verse 12.
12. Okay. My own said, for there are Enochs
Okay.
who were born that way,
Enochs, people who chose not to marry,
and there are Enochs who have been made Enochs by others.
who have been made Enochs by others.
And
Okay.
there are those who chose to live like Enochs for
There
the
are
sake of the
those
kingdom
who
of heaven.
chose.
Okay.
So if you now choose to live as Enoch, what happened to the woman God have appointed for you or God have kept for you? This is Jesus talking, no? You get the point now?
Yeah.
So there are 3 categories there. And I don't want to sound controversial again. If not, I would have told you that those 3 categories, that those 3 categories were without the signature of God on their decision. He said the first one, they were born that way. He said second one, men made them to be like that. So let me leave the first one that they are born that way. Maybe that's their destiny with God. That's why they were born that way. The second one that men made, Inko. What happens to the women that God have kept for them in a shelf? The ones that now grew up and say, for the sake of the kingdom of God, I will not get married. What happened to the women that God have kept for them? I took my time to research about the percentage of men against women. And I discovered that by birth, we have 104 men against 100 women. 104 against 100. Now, because of our kind as men, we are exposed to a lot of risk. So when you sit down now in your environment to count, you discover that we have more women than men.
Yeah.
But statistics shows that right from the past 10 years, that from birth, women have never exceeded men for once. So these men that died untimely in accidents, drugs, ran mad because they're looking for money. What happened to that woman that God kept to them for them? So the woman will now remain unmarriageable, or another person will now come and marry another person's wife. So this is Jesus Christ now speaking in Matthew chapter 19 from verse 12, showing you clearly that some persons can make up their mind not to marry. Are they going against the will of God?
Then what about those people that said that God told them that this is my wife?
I was not there when God told them. And I don't argue with them. We have our dealings with God. If you understand my point of view, I'm not saying that there is no tendency of God telling you.
Okay.
But I'm saying that the people who told us that God told them are the ones we met here on earth. I did not see any record of it in our scripture that we are reading. So I'm not arguing that God, the same way you want to do a business and you will ask God for direction, the same way you want to go somewhere and you ask God for what to say, the same way you want to do something and you ask God for to show you what to do, God can actually show you. But the point there is that he did not keep any particular person for you.
Okay.
I showed you the part of blood group. Do you know that it's science that helped us to bring light to some of these things? What did science do there? Science showed us that we have different genotypes. There are genotypes that is not compatible. And if you marry each other, you will have problem. Do you know that that was one of the prayer points that made people to start telling God to choose for them? There were errors when we don't know that we have AA, AS, and SS.
Yeah.
And people blindly, not knowing that our SS, we now got married another SS. And they will give birth to 15 children, and all of them will die before the age of 17. And it was a problem then. And that is good enough for somebody to tell God to come and choose for him. Because that knowledge and insight on that aspect of compatibility have not been unlocked. I also heard right now that there are blood groups that is not compatible, that if you get married to each other after your first child, you will not be able to conceive again. Science also showed us that. These were the problems that we are looking for God, and these problems never came from God. The part of temperament I talked about before, there are temperaments that will not match with each other. So not until science showed us this temperament, we never knew about them before.
Yeah.
So you will see a noisy man married a noisy woman, and the roof is on fire. Because we never know that we have differences in temperament. So science, but all these differences never came from God.
Okay.
Now, to drive home what I said before, because I know that some of our audience will say that I'm talking out of human wisdom. Let's quickly also check the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 7. And let's see what Apostle Paul said there. Apostle Paul is also another man I respect so much.
1 Corinthians chapter 7. Verse what now?
Verse 2.
Should I read?
Yes, he was asked in verse 1 if it is good for a man to be alone and decide not to marry. That's the question he was asked. They wrote to him. Now read the answer he gave to them.
Say, but since sexual immorality
Because of sexual immorality
is occurring, each man should have sexual relations with his own wife.
Each man should have sexual relations with his own wife.
And each woman with her own husband.
Do you have another translation?
I think I have easy English.
Okay, this one said, nevertheless, because of sexual immorality, let each man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband. Do you read that statement very well? He said because of what?
Sexual immorality.
He said because of what?
Sexual immorality.
Not because of for you not to leave that person that God kept for you. He said because of. Then now go down to verse 39.
39.
Because when I said any believer can marry any believer, some people will argue it.
Verse 39. 39 says, if a woman has married, she may not leave her husband while he still lives.
Okay.
But if he dies, that's the husband, then she is free to marry again.
To marry again.
She may marry any man.
Any man. Any man.
That
Finish
she
it.
wants to.
Finish it. Yes, the ending part is where I'm going to.
That she may marry any man that she wants to marry. But he must be someone who belongs to the Lord.
He must be someone who belongs to the belonging to the Lord is the same, is the formula. If I and you truly belong to God, any other thing is workable because we will actually allow God to walk us through it.
Okay.
So the challenge of suitability have been ironed out 1,000 years ago in the Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
If I belong to God as the man, and you belong to God, let's see how Peter put it in 1 Peter chapter 3. Let's see how Peter put it. 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 5.
Verse 5. Let me read. He said, that was how holy women.
That was how holy women
made themselves beautiful. Many years ago. They trusted God that he would help them. They respected the authority of their husbands.
They respected the authority of their husbands. You have another translation there?
Yes, I have amplified.
Okay.
Amplified. It's Shebi is verse 5.
Verse 5. Meanwhile, you can actually read from verse 4. So that we understand what exactly he's talking about.
But let it be the inward adorning and beauty of the hidden person of the heart.
Okay.
With the incorruptible and unfading charm of the gentle and peaceful spirit.
Okay.
Which is not anxious or wrought up.
Okay.
But is very precious in the sight of God.
In the sight of God. Okay.
In verse 5 now, he said, for it was thus that the ancient women of old who hoped in God were accustomed.
In God. The reason why a woman will argue submissiveness with you is because that woman does not belong to God.
Yeah.
The reason why a man will tell you, I don't love this wife of mine, is because that man does not believe in God and does not obey God. Because a man that obeys God knows that he is commanded and mandated to love his wife. Not if you like, provided you have married that person. It is now a commandment and mandatory for you to love that woman. So what actually happens? Anything that will look like you not loving that woman, the Spirit of God will send the signal to you. And you will correct it immediately. Except you don't obey the Spirit of God. On the part of the woman who submitted herself to God, you will submit to your husband, not because you cannot do otherwise, but because anything that will look like you not being submissive to your husband, the Spirit of God will alert it in your heart immediately. And because you listen to the Spirit of God, you will correct it.
Yeah.
Have you discovered your purpose so that before you get married, you have to know your purpose first, know what God is calling you to do, so that you will choose the right woman that will align with your purpose? It's because we are joking. If we are not joking, you are a believer and you marry somebody, and God wake up tomorrow morning to tell you, today I have appointed you to be a pastor. Before he finish speaking to you, he don't send signal to your wife, today I have called you and your husband to serve me in the office of a pastor. I'm telling you the truth.
Ideology is killing us.
I'm a believer and you are a believer, trusting God, believing in God, obeying God, and you are the man. You wake up in the morning to tell me that God is sending you for a mission. I will stop you from going to serve God because of my purpose and my alignment. I will pray for you and pray to God to guide you. If I have doubts in my heart, I will lock my door and say, God, prove this thing to me. Tell me you are the one saying it. And God will tell me. And because I obey God, what then will I do? I will align.
Joseph and Mary.
I will align. So the problem we are having that is making us to say who is compatible, who is not compatible, who is preserved, who is not preserved, who is appointed, who is not appointed, is because even we will be believer, we don't know where we stand with God. If we know where we stand with God, we will not be arguing. All these things have been settled long ago. I took my time to start studying of how we have different blood group. How? Because I know that God created them first. Adam and Eve. So if they were to produce their kind, where did these stuffs come from? I'm not done with that research, but I've been able to gather enough of it that the change of blood groups among human beings came as a result of, how will I call it, sickness, parasites, ants that injected things into our blood system from origin.
Okay.
Because the system was never like now when we protect ourselves medically. There was a time where they live anyhow, when they walk around naked, when they live in caves, in bush, in forests, and they drink so many things, they ate so many things. So many things entered their blood vessels and their systems, and it brought about the change in blood group. And if you browse very well, we don't have only four blood groups. We have them in their hundreds. So that under these four, we now have sub blood groups that is now generalized to be a particular one. So where was it coming from? You are now going to go and tell God suitability. Did God create you differently before? So the issue of this suitability, compatibility, and everything, it was addressed in the Garden of Eden. It was addressed immediately. Adam chose. I saw one. Okay, I don't want to go there. I saw one comment in your comment section where the person was saying that Adam could not have chosen any other animal because Eve was made for him. I don't want to argue that, but I also saw one that I laughed. The person said, yes, Adam would also have rejected Eve and called her another thing. Do you know that it was still that naming process that continued? No, you don't understand.
Yeah.
He named the animals in verse 19. And when God brought Eve to him in verse 22, he continued the naming process. He said, this shall be called a woman.
Before the bone of my bone.
Before the bone of my bone. So it's the same naming process. That naming process is the searching process. If Adam have also looked at Eve, after looking at Eve, he felt that Eve is not compatible enough for him, can decide to name Eve anything, and then maybe God will now remove one of his legs to create another woman for him. I'm telling you the truth. So the choice is ours to make. The choice is just ours to make. So I want us to consider these three people I talked about now, which is Jesus Christ's statement about marriage, Apostle Paul statement about marriage, and Apostle Peter statement about marriage. I think these are the three persons that stressed the issue of marriage in the Bible. Then any other person that maybe feels that you still have another vital example of where God brought a woman to somebody. I saw somebody in our comment section who said that, what about Prophet Hosea? You know, I noticed that I even made a mistake in our last time because I was even thinking that God was close to specification. It was when I now went back to go and read it in Hosea chapter 1. God told him to go and marry to a place in verse 2. In verse 3, Bible said, and he went and chose for himself. So what God actually do is that he will give you a range amongst the people he wants you to marry from. So that they don't bring in strange gods. Because strange God affects your attitude as a person. The God you serve affects who you are. So the problem we are having here is, who are we actually serving and how well are we serving that person? The only blockage that God have ever given to his people is marrying outside the body of faith. And the reason why he kicks, and you know, when it comes to the body of faith, everybody answering a Christian is not truly a Christian.
That's the problem. I think.
And the problem is not coming from God. You know, all this, that's the problem. It's not coming from God. Because God expects Christians to be Christians indeed. He expects us to serve him in truth and in spirit. So, as long as God is concerned, any individual that is serving him in truth and in spirit can get married to any individual serving him in truth and in spirit. He does not need to come and pick one for you.
Full stop.
Because at that point, you are serving him in truth and in spirit. You are dead to flesh. And remove this flesh from us, we don't have issues.
Very true.
Remove this flesh from us, we don't have issues. The only problem we are having is coming from here. Our personality, our ego, our character, our attitude is all coming from here. Remove this thing from us. Will we align to whatsoever God wants us to align to? When I say that God does not prepare a particular person keeping for you, I'm still standing there. I will always stand there. When you are ready to look for a wife and you beckon on God, you are the one looking for. No, you don't understand. You are the one looking for.
He that findeth a wife.
You are the one looking for. The only thing there is that maybe you now think that you need somebody to guide you. You will call up to God and God can now say, okay, let's follow this route, let's follow this way, let's follow this way, let's follow this way. Okay, look at that sister over there.
If you know like
If you know like God have shown to many, they said God forbid on top of God's head. Yes, there are people that God have shown the person, or according to them, they said God showed them this person. They said no. I was talking to one of my friends about this same issue in my office. I told the person, have God told you something before and you refused to do it? The guy said yes. I said, so what is it? What are you talking about now? The choice of a wife. No, not for me and you. Now for me and you. So, any other thing that maybe we are saying about our differences is not coming from God.
Okay.
So, it is left for us to iron it out
Ourselves.
by ourselves. Then,
So, in summary, you are still standing on that ground that God did not keep anybody for anybody.
I'm not just standing, I'm standing strong
Okay, you are standing strong.
on that ground.
And the way this podcast is going now, it looks like I'm now trying to stand with you.
No, I'm not just standing. I'm standing very, 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 very strong.
Like, how do you know these things? How do you... Let me ask you one question anyway before the viewers continue. Like, how do you get to study? How do you do your studies? Like, trying to study to know something.
Why I went this deep in this subject matter is because I belong to a church.
Okay.
And I belong to a church that so much believe in God, to the point that they believe that God have that particular person he wants you to marry. So, if you are coming up to them to tell them that you see this person and you want to marry that person, you are joking. Because you are going to present a testimony
For real.
showing that this is real. This is God saying it. Okay. So, and our structure is such that you don't approach the person. Once you download that vision from God, you take it straight to the pastor.
Like, for real.
Yes. The pastor will now be the one to communicate to the person. Not to tell the person that you want to marry her, but tell the person to go and pray. So that God will now show the person. So when the person now weighs you, your financial capacity, your height, your complexion, your education and everything, the person will now write back that God did not show the person. And then the person that said that God told him to go and marry Njideka, after 2 months, we write another testimony that God told him to go and marry Adobe. How? God they take colos.
My brother.
No, you will see somebody writing up to 10, 8.
Are you serious?
So I was like, is this not a joke? How can you tell me this month God said you should marry Njideka? And Njideka went and prayed and said, God, no tell him. You come back 3 months time, tell me God told you to marry Adobe. Adobe went and prayed. Come and tell me, say, God, no tell him. You come back again, tell me, say, God told you to marry Ifeoma. Ifeoma say, God, no tell him. You come back again, tell me, And some of them, when they write, and maybe because of their kind of pet, maybe they are not wealthy, they are not rich, they are not doing very well. And familiarity, everybody know them already. And nobody is arguing that God is telling them to marry the person. The person will go outside and marry from outside our own church.
Okay.
So God now, after telling you to marry 10 persons in this place, he could not tell them. He told you. He now carried you to another church to get married. So after considering that, I said, no, I think I have to study something about this thing. So that is how I landed myself into deep studies. This same subject matter is what made me for the first time in my life, to read the Bible from Genesis to Revelation. Because I kept a note. And I told myself, anywhere I see and God told him to marry, I will write it down. And God appointed unto him a man. I will write it down. And I read from A to Z. I could not find one. I now went back again to read for the second time. Because of this same thing. The second time I now went and I said that anything that looks like the story of marriage, I will capture it. So that later on I can now go back individually to see how it all started. So any place I see, and this person took this person. Go and read your Bible. That's what you'll be seeing. And he took this person for a wife, and he took, and he took, and he took, and he took. I wrote down all the he took. And they start showing, and then they start checking who told them to took, who they took. And when I trace it, you will not say anybody tell anybody to took anybody. I saw in your comment section where somebody was talking about Rebecca and Isaac, how Rebecca was chosen for Isaac. If you read well, now Abraham even told the servant where to go. It was not God. Abraham told the servant, go to my people. The servant of Abraham got there and now prayed to God that anybody that will give me water and give to my camel, I will take the person back. Let me shock you. More than 10 people from that village will do it.
Yeah, exactly.
The standard he set was just a standard of looking out for a humble person, a hardworking person that can go down the stream, first come back again, go down the streets first, and somebody who can take care of a home. Who knows that he will give water and give to the camel. And if they have 1,000 virgins there, I put it to you that they will be up to 100 persons who are well trained. So immediately he saw that person, he picked that person. I started studying this subject matter because of where I'm coming from. I said, I just want to know. And the truth about it is that till today, I don't argue with anybody over there. I don't argue with anybody. Because if you don't believe in what we are doing here, that means this place is not meant for you. You don't have to come and start causing commotion. On several occasions, I've been appointed to teach about relationship in our mega programs, maybe youth programs and the rest of them. If you invite me, I will decline that letter. I won't go. The reason why I have always declined it, even last year, I was supposed to be one of the seminar teachers. I didn't take that seminar. The reason I didn't take it is because the knowledge I have about that subject matter might not align with yours.
Yeah.
And anything I'm doing that is not in alignment to what is being done and what is being said is like bringing in a false teaching and doctrine to the system.
For them.
Yeah. So this was the reason why I started reading. So I read the Bible all through. And then after reading the Bible, I picked my phone. I was like, maybe I was not observant enough to see those instances. So I picked my phone. And I started typing people that God appointed wives for. Browse it, you won't see any. The only story you will see in that full Bible, they will tell you that it was not a direct appointment, but that the scenario around it looks like God played a part. You can browse it if you are listening to me now. Pick up your phone and browse it. You won't see it anywhere. I started browsing the internet if I will see at least one particular verse of the Bible. Like I'm just looking for that one particular verse of the Bible where I will see that God said to this man, take up this woman for a wife. The only close example I said before that happened there was about Joseph and Mary. And what God came to do that place was a follow-up, not the main thing. Because Joseph already chose Mary for a wife before the Spirit of God visited Mary. And Joseph was now beginning to have double mind. So God only came to confirm to Joseph, don't be afraid. Still go on with that your decision and that your choice. That was the only place that you can see something like express directing to someone. I read my Bible. I browsed the internet. I started looking for books to read. And funny enough, I have not actually come across any book that I would say, okay, this person dealt on this issue very well. Only one person that I came across his book, just few pages, and he wasn't even going deep into the whole stuff, is one of my chairman I respect so much in this field, Pastor Kingsley Okonkwo, where he said, God asked me to marry you. He only cited the story of Adam and Eve, and then I think also the story of Isaac and Rebecca, and that was all. Wow. So when I read it, I was like, I've not gotten enough. So what I did was that I went back to those places I saw the instances of marriage in the Bible. Some of them, I will read one particular verse for the next 3 weeks. Just one particular verse for the next 3 weeks.
Like you come in every morning.
I will come in every month. If you saw my status some days ago, I said you push you tell Genesis chapter 2 to leave me alone. That Genesis chapter 2, I studied that place every day. It was 3 days ago or 2 days ago that I made that post that I discovered that verse 19 that Adam was naming those animals was actually the starting point of that union. Because in verse 18, God already said that it's not good for Adam to be alone. What actually stopped God from making Eve and bringing to Adam? Don't you think God have the power to make Eve? After verse 18, when he said it's not good for a man to be alone, he can go and make Adam to sleep straight away. Build Eve and bring Eve to Adam. The same way he told Adam, don't eat of this fruit, he told Adam, look at your wife and carry. He could give Adam every other instruction, but he didn't tell Adam, look at your wife. He would have made Eve and come and say, Adam, take unto thyself Eve, the woman whom I have designed for you. No. He started from verse 19, bringing animals to him for him to name. And after naming them, he did not find. He now went back again. So I went back. This 1 Corinthians I talked about in chapter 7, the 1 Peter chapter 3, I went back and started reading again to see if these fathers, at least I know the grace of God upon Apostle Paul, that if he have received that insight of God leaving a woman for you, he would have said it. There is almost nothing that Apostle Paul did not address. Almost nothing. And he addressed the issue of marriage. And Nahim even opened mouth, tell said the woman have the right to marry whosoever she wishes. After the husband don't die.
That man's inspiration will be here.
Might shock you from that verse. You marry, the husband die. You had the right to marry another man. Whose husband are you marrying that time around?
Oh, yeah.
So the second husband that you have the right to marry is your person's husband. Because we are counted and our wives are counted.
Yeah.
So you when your first husband died, and you now have the right to marry another person. Whose husband are you marrying next? So if you marry person's husband, another person, that person will now stay empty.
I think just wow. Anyway, while this is going on, your opinions are still welcome. If you still have anything to say on that subject, just keep putting it in the comment section, all right? We'll find a way to keep dragging Mr. Bryce to this place, all right? Now, I have just 2 more questions.
Okay.
Let's just tie up this session, all right? Now, what's your view on dating?
Okay.
Like, is it necessary, to be in a relationship before getting into marriage? Like, what's your view on dating, courtship, and all of that?
The view of dating, I think dating means different things to different people.
Okay.
Different culture, different doctrine. Okay. And there are some, will I call it, doctrine that supports dating and courtship. Some people rebranded dating to be courtship. They will tell you we don't date, but we court. Because they believe that calling it courtship make more sense because you already know where you are going to. As long as I'm concerned, dating is that process or that season or time between a man and a woman who did not know each other before. Is that season between the two of them when they are trying to understand each other in order to know if they are compatible. Now, I used to tell people something. You will have levels in God. Before now, that has been my own teaching. If your eyes never reach to see through God's lens, see through your own eyes. So that season of dating is that season, just that, when it comes to we down here, we abuse everything. And because of the abuse, sometimes we tend to paint some things black, even when they are not black. Yeah. Because when something comes down to us, we will mess it up. From the original sense of dating, there should be no immorality inside dating.
Okay.
There are no depths of intimacy inside dating. So, but because the people involved in this thing are not truly believers, are not truly standing in the right stand with God, they get carried away by the attractions that they see. So, from my own point of view, a guy dating a girl is okay, but make sure you keep to the standard of purity. From dating, if what you are seeing is what you want to see, you graduate to courtship, where you have said to one another, we have a future here. And then from courtship, you graduate to meeting the church council for marriage. Of course, at the point of courtship, you should include your pastor, because now it's becoming serious. Who will guide you and direct you. Somebody told me something 3 days ago, some days ago. He said a man chased out his wife because they don't have any child after 5 years of marriage. And I felt bad. I was like, I understand. But one of the reasons for such quick irritation is because these people maybe were never connected to each other before. Do you know that some people go to the extent of saying, my pastor told me that this person is my wife?
It's true.
You've not heard it before?
It's true.
Countless times. My pastor told me. Now, I'm not saying that God cannot talk to your pastor. God spoke to your pastor. But on the other part of it, there is no connection between these two persons. That's why you will hear husband telling the wife, if not be say, pastor talk, I'm waiting for consign me and you. Because they are not connected. So at any small disappointment, there is no bearing capacity inside. Do you know what it means? That somebody you have cherished from the beginning is not able to bring forth a child. That's the time the bond becomes stronger. Because you will try everything within your reach to make sure she does not cry in the midnights. You will try everything possible to make sure you console her. Honey, don't worry, God will answer us. That is not when to kick her out. So most times this kicking out is coming because we don't have memories anywhere. We are just like strangers. So when it's not matching, everything scatters. So from my point of view, if I watched a video, I think it's your video, where somebody said something about dating, I commented on it on your status.
Okay.
Yeah. The problem I have with people talking about relationship is that, first of all, there is time for everything. It's now that you will see SS1 dating SS1 to check out what now? What are you checking out? To know if the two of you are compatible, I'll be waiting. So it's now that you will see somebody in higher institution saying, I'm cutting this person. So most times when I hear people make that statement, avoid the women, avoid the relationship, it will distract you. You will go bankrupt. You will be this one. You'll be this one. You'll be this one. I said you are right. The problem there is, what is your capacity both mentally? What is your capacity spiritually? What is your age? What is your capacity physically? Before going into that relationship, if you are mentally stable and you have the knowledge that is required, when you enter a relationship, you find that the relationship is open doors. Some of us had people in life that is through their relationship with maybe their wife, before they got married, that they begin to see the light of the day. You will see a woman who will tell you this is what you have to do for you to break through again. What is the task? What is the goal? Remember, tomorrow you have an interview. Please make sure you wear that your white shirts. Have you considered reading this book? Have you considered looking at this particular question? Is a woman telling you now? The same woman will be disaster. Will be say wants to relate with them a guy bankrupt. Some persons have helped their fiancé during the time of courtship and dating to know God. If I must take you seriously, you must take your relationship with God seriously. Like play, you will see the man going to church because of a girl. The same girl that will distract you from God is the same girl taking a man to church. What is the age? What is your ability? What is your capacity? How much have you developed yourself? So, provided you have matured enough, you have what it takes to go into it, your stamina will carry you. So, dating, as long as I'm concerned, is allowed from I don't say Bible, I don't say God, I don't say my church. From my point of view, it is allowed. I should be able to tell a girl, okay, I think I love something about you. Can we talk? Can we meet in this place so we can just sit down? Where are you from? Who are you? Are you a graduate? What are you doing? What are your goals? What are your views? As I was saying it, I'm nodding head or I'm shaking head. So it's not a bad thing to me. Yeah, but when they add the ones where they're not supposed to add originally, that's where the problem comes in.
Wow. Your type go marry woman where? If you're a lady watching and you want to get access, you come to me. Let's reason. I will tell you how much you will pay. All right. My God, I really picked a lot from this. Maybe we'll see how we can get a separate session dedicated to this mind transformation, because I believe this boils down, 80 to 90% of this boils down to the kind of mindset we've built around here. Like, my God, you are seeing a lot of things and I'm like, wow. So this is just more of our belief system we've built over time.
Our programming.
Yes.
Our programming.
God.
Just like what I said in the last video, that I don't want to be a pastor because I discovered that there is this programming that makes people believe that everything a pastor says is correct. So I don't want to be a pastor so that when I'm talking, people will not just swallow it. I'm a kind of person, forget what I'm saying here. I'm going to say that I want you to doubt what I'm saying because I want to learn more about that thing. So when you hear me speaking, I'm not speaking because I'm proud, I'm arrogant, I feel I know everything. No, I want you to call me to order and say, come. But if I sit as a pastor, you may not have that boldness to tell me, come. You will just swallow it. So I love that engagement. I love that reaction. So our problem here is our programming, what we have known over the years. That's why one of the men I respect so much, the very first person that started doing this mind shift stuff in Nigeria, he said something. He said one of the days he went to preach in his church, and while he was preaching, he started an example and he said that ego is the highest flying bird. And that is what we have been hearing for a very long time, that's ego. Everybody wants to talk about ego. He said after preaching, he returned to his office, he have delivered. He said he didn't know that a young boy in that church picked his phone and sent a message to a junior pastor there and said, please, I might not be able to tell Pastor Sam that thing he said was wrong. But help me tell him. Say, ego is not the highest flying bird. So, Pastor Sam, then he said the person now came and told him that look at what somebody said. Somebody said that ego is not the highest flying bird. And you, with this respect, you said it during the service. And he said he picked his phone. I also picked my phone and browsed it. And discovered that ego no even fall into the first 5.
Wow.
So he said the next Wednesday service, he went back to go and apologize to the church. That ego stuff he said then was never true. Now, why did he say that thing? Programming. We have been programmed to believe that ego is the highest of all the birds. And he flies high than every other bird. So when somebody is coming out from Lukato, we are not blaming our fathers in faith. We are not blaming them. When we are not saying they are wrong, we're not saying they don't know what they are doing. We're not saying that God never talked to them. But about it is that the technology and the information we have now gives us access to see more things than they were able to see that time. During their own time, they cannot browse internet. During their own time, this thing that we carry a complete Bible now, some of them read Bible in pages. So when you see what God is saying in the Old Testament, you don't even know that thing was later addressed in the New Testament because you are holding only the Old Testament. And you will build your belief around that Old Testament. Not until somebody will now bring New Testament for you. Maybe that time you are even old. So the person bringing New Testament now to say that thing you said about Old Testament, look at it. To Christ addressed it in New Testament. Or strange fire.
Yeah.
So the issue we are having now is our programming.
Yeah. God is gonna help us. Maybe we'll just have a separate session where we'll address specifically on this mindset stuff. So, should our viewers should expect it, right?
Yes.
Sealed. So I believe this one now really blessed you. Still feel free to put in something in the comment section and share this video. Like, just share massively, because I believe more people need to be reprogrammed. I'm already excited. Like, this session is mind blowing because I picked out a whole lot. And don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel. And for the people that might be requesting Mr. Bright's social media handles, please just tell them if you have any platform that you can be reached.
My YouTube channel is Love Arena.
Love Arena.
Yes.
Okay.
My Facebook is, I have also Facebook Love Arena and Ifeanyi Chukwu Bright.
So which one are we going to reach you if we want to reach you?
You can reach me through my YouTube channel, Love
YouTube,
Arena.
Love Arena.
Yes, it has all my details there also.
Okay,
in the description.
So they can then connect.
Yes, in the description.
All right, so you've heard it now. We'll also tag the Love Arena on the description of this video. So for the people that many of you we are requesting for his social media handles and details, so we'll tag it in this description so that you can as well follow him to learn more and then relate with him as well. There is so much in this man, and I'm excited that God is through him bringing out this change in perspective regarding certain things. So if you watched to this point, thank you, and don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel. I will repeat it again. See you in our next episode. Bye.